women's flyweight fight, Matt, and we've got the Queen of Violence, Ariane Lipski, former KSW flyweight champion, taking on Luana Carolina, and it's a really interesting clash of styles because Ariane Lipski, she can kind of do everything, but we haven't really seen it come together in the UFC. We'll get back to that one. And Luana Carolina absolutely lit up Priscilla Cachoeira in her debut. She had a great fight there. She's on a decent little win streak, 6 fights in a row. And if we look back at that Cachoeira fight, Matt, in total, 126 to 251 for total strikes. Now, she didn't Valentina Shevchenko for Priscilla Cachoeira, but she stood and traded and did well. And if you're a big Ariane Lipski fan, that's got to concern you. The other thing that I look at in this one, if we look over at the odds, they're closing in on par. Lipski on some sites, minus 120, minus 125, something like that. It's one of those ones that really could be a flip of a coin, because if you look at Lipski, she's fought good competition. I mean, we have Diana Belbizia fighting on Wednesday night against a tough out in that one. She's fought her before with KSW when she was a champ. If we look at Luana Carolina and we match both of these fighters up, this is where it gets really froggy fresh. Okay, so Ariane Lipski won her last fight against Isabella de Padua. If you look over at Luana Carolina, she fought de Padua in her second pro fight and beat her by submission. They both fought Diane Firmino. They both lost to her. So really weird that you end up with fighters fighting different fighters like this in totally different parts of the world. But I guess the women's flyweight circle is a pretty small one at that. So in terms of this fight, Matt, it's kind of tough to try and give you an overall breakdown, a really good look at it from our standpoint. Again, Lipski's fought probably the tougher competition. If you look over at Carolina, again, she continues to win and win, but let's go through them. So she loses to Firmino. I get it. 4-1 at the time.
First fight, too.
Fights de Padua. It was de Padua's pro debut, then another pro debut, then 2-1, then pro debut, 7-0, good win on Contender Series, and beats Priscilla Cachoeira. These are kind of shades of Tyler Santos, who's fighting on the Wednesday night card. And again, she could win that fight. She could lose that fight against Molly McCann. We're filming this on Monday night before that fight's happened. So let us know if we're total idiots for making that comparison. But you just have to worry about some of these fighters, because for Carolina, she's 6-1 right now. Santos, 15-1. They each won their UFC debuts. They each won on Contender Series. But what do you really get? I mean, Carolina looked good, but she fought Priscilla Cachoeira. And Cachoeira, I get it. She's got a win in the UFC. She beat Shanna Dobson. That doesn't tell me a whole lot. Ariane Lipski, tougher competition. And then the competition that she's faced in the UFC. There's another thing. Joanne Calderwood and Molly McCann. They were ugly fights. She definitely didn't win them, but she won her last one. So for me, you rally back. It wasn't looking great. New contract with the UFC. I think all signs point to Lipski. Can you change my mind here?
No, I agree with you in large part, because Lipski coming into the UFC, I know us as KSW fans, we were really excited for her debut. Calderwood, though, she's fighting Valentina next. Like, that tells you how good she is. And Lipski did make a fairly good account of herself. I know she lost handily, but there was some positions and some points in that fight that she actually did really well against Calderwood. Her Muay Thai, although it wasn't at the same level of Calderwood's, because that's really what she's great at, she held her own in some of the exchanges. It was really on the ground, which was the weird thing, because you thought if Lipski had any advantage in that fight, it would be on the ground. Lipski has one big Achilles heel, though. Her wrestling defense isn't all that great, and she's not great at getting back up to the feet. Now, if it's the other way around, her on top, she's actually really good on the ground. She's got really good elbows, really good ground and pound. But the Queen of... There's a reason the Korean Zombie can be called the Korean Zombie. Because A, he is in fact Korean, and B, he fights like a zombie. He keeps on going forward. It doesn't matter what you throw at him, he goes forward.
You're telling me Ariane Lipski isn't royalty?
That's what I'm saying. A, I do not believe she is the Queen of Brazil. And B, her fights aren't all that violent since she's come to the UFC. We really haven't seen the best version of her, or at least the version that we thought would be coming over from KSW, so... I think she has the higher ceiling out of these two. Yes, Carolina could go out there and just beat the brakes off her, and trust me, I've been wrong many times before. You guys watch her videos. But I just think Lipski, if the fight goes to the ground and if she's able to get on top, she's going to have a massive advantage. Now, roles being reversed, I don't think Carolina is that dominant on the ground to where Lipski won't be able to get back up to her feet. I know I just said it's an Achilles heel of her, but it's not like she's fighting the highest level competition in this fight, so I do think she'll be able to get back up to the feet. Her clinch work's quite good. Her submission game's... It's not phenomenal by any means, but if you're looking for a way out, she will take it via submission. That's really where a lot of her submission wins come from. She's good on the feet, and it just comes down to, if I can make you tired and kind of beat you up on the feet, if I do get you down, a rear naked choke's a lot easier way to lose than to tap out due to strikes for a lot of people. I think Lipski, should be able to get this win. But I got to be honest, I'm not that confident in her ever since she's come to the UFC.
I'd be interested, and this is a bit of a stretch, the winner fights somebody like a Macy Barber, another prospect. It's a little too early for Sabina Mazo, so maybe a Jillian Robertson, even though she's higher up, a lot higher up in the food chain, so to speak. But yeah, we're both going with Ariane Lipski in this one again. Probably not one of the more confident picks on the card, but there are a lot of things to be desired from both fighters, and there's good upside with both. They're still young in a division where you string together 3 or 4 wins, and all of a sudden you have a title shot. And I mean, if you're Caitlin Chukagian, 1 win, and there you go. So really looking forward to this card. We have an extended look at our main event between 2 tough outs who have already faced each other, Devison Figueiredo and Joseph Benavidez. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt, and as we always say, let's get into it.